So NXT bounces back, has an actual good episode this week from October the 5th, 2021. We're going to go through the show. And there was a lot of toxic attraction on this show because they are the attraction on this show. And you know what? I ain't gonna hear me disagree with them. At least not right now. At least not in this exact moment. In any event, let's start the show with Mandy Rose versus Ember Moon, which the first match, first segment. Ember Moon takes the L with a running pump knee, which has become Mandy Rose's finish. It actually looked pretty brutal. It looked pretty good. You know, I'm pretty sure maybe the camera cut helped, but it looked pretty good in that segment. Mandy Rose didn't have a bad match here, believe it or not. You know, Ember Moon is still pretty cringe. I think she's kind of on a higher level than she doesn't really need to be wrestling in these kind of matches and putting people over. I think she should be building up a character and being able to provide something of substance to the roster, not just an upper level person to be a jobber to the stars. I just don't think that's the right role for her, you know. But hey, whatever. I'm not the biggest Ember Moon booster in the world. There was a dueling chance for Mandy and Ember. I'm surprised Ember Moon still has fans. We were promised a new Ember Moon. We got the same Ember Moon. So did she change her mind on becoming something different? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. We'll have to continue to wait. But Mandy didn't look too bad here. But this wasn't the last time we saw Mandy for the evening, because we will see her after Raquel Gonzalez has her promo. So Raquel Gonzalez cuts a promo, says that message received from Toxic Attraction, and said that all of Mandy's hair dye has seeped into her brain because she's been running the division for about a month. But Raquel has been running the division for a whole year, and being champion in this division means being the best in the best division in the business. And if you think Saray messed up your face, then touch my belt again and see what happened to you. This brought out, of course, Toxic Attraction, where Mandy got what chance, and she tried to rule the what chance by saying, say what if you think I'm the sexiest woman in the world, and something like that. Then she said she used to admire Raquel, but now Raquel comes across as being very desperate because she knows her title reign is coming to an end and Toxic Attraction is taking over. Then Gigi Dolan stepped up and said that they are championship material and Raquel Gonzalez is not championship material, which Raquel said she put 6 staples in Gigi's head for bashing her in the head with his belt, and she spazzed out. Then JC Jane cut a pretty decent promo here. Her promo was actually better than Gigi's this time, where JC said that we can add jealous to the list of things that you are, Raquel, because we are the faces of NXT. And soon we're going to have all the gold, because now we're not just Toxic Attraction. We are the attraction. Then they decided to replay a couple of weeks ago where they jumped Raquel Gonzalez. They were going to do it again. This time, however, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark jumped out there to help Raquel fend off the ambush. Not Raquel Gonzalez, but Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction both bail and walk away, as they should. And this segment was fine. It was fine. You know, I don't mind what they're doing with Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction. I actually quite like it. I like it more for what it's doing for the younger girls than for what it's doing for Mandy. You know, Mandy's been rejuvenated. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I could, if you'd have told me last year that the most marketable person on NXT in 2021 would have been Mandy Rose, I'd have told you were on crack, and crack is whack, and you shouldn't do that. But here it is, and Mandy Rose is all over the commercials. She's in 4 damn segments on the show. She's got a match. She's got a long promo, dueling promo with the champion. I mean, it is what it is, man. I don't hate the Mandy Rose thing. I think she's actually better now than she was before. I think she might be more confident. And her match was definitely better than usual. Usually the Mandy Rose matches are awful. But this was a singles match, and it was actually better than her previous singles matches. So I was okay with this. You know, I'm okay with all this. Now the question is, does Mandy Rose win? I think she probably does. I think Mandy Rose likely wins the title. You know, but what do you do with Raquel if she's not the champion? that's kind of the question. Do you send her away and she's not the champ? I don't know. They just did the draft and she didn't get drafted. So, I mean, I guess they do mystery call-ups throughout the year anyway, so who knows? But I still like Raquel Gonzalez. They have really, really, really pulled back on her, and it's showed because she hasn't been featured nearly as much as she was. But they have done a good job of saying, okay, we have established Raquel. We don't need to continuously send her out there to do nothing. It is the appropriate thing that they should probably do on Raw and SmackDown is that sometimes you established the top person in that division. You don't need to feature them. They don't need to wrestle every week. They don't even need to talk every week. Let somebody come up to their level first, and then you introduce them in order to create the schism or whatever. Let the challenge be laid. Let whatever is going to happen, and then you feature the champion in the storyline or in the promo. They don't need to be there every week. You know, we can be aware of them without them wrestling every week, without them talking every week. Now, theoretically, you want to have them around as much as possible, but you don't want to overexpose them. And I felt like the time off that we've given Raquel to do whatever it is she's been doing, hanging out with the Titan, but whatever the case may be, it served her well because she's not overexposed. She comes across as being, all right, the final boss. Okay, you know, Mandy Rose and all these characters think they got something going on. Now they got to deal with Raquel Gonzalez. And we've already established she's a badass, okay? So this works out for me. This is just fine. All right, so since Indy Hartwell's thing is all mixed up in here, let's talk about Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell has a promo earlier in the night where she's asked by her friend Portia Parada where Dexter Lumis is, and she says that she wore Dexter Lumis out, and he needed a break. He needed some time off. And they find Smoke. They open the door, and it's Mei Ying and Boa. Mei Ying's just sitting in her throne in a smoky room. They're not doing nothing salacious. You know, they're not. It's not like they got caught. You know, let's be PG. They didn't get caught shaking up dice in there or something like that. They wasn't running an illegal casino out of this room in here. Okay, they wasn't doing anything. But Boa got real offended, slammed the door in their faces, and everybody was like, home? So then they have the match, Mei Ying versus Indy Hartwell. Mei Ying is, completely dominant in the match. It was not good, to be quite honest. It wasn't good. And Portia Parada is in Indy Hartwell's corner. The Tongan death grip, when she gets grabbed by the underhand, by the throat, they fall outside the ring where Mei Ying doesn't really let go of the Tongan death grip. Then there's some chicanery with Portia Parada, and that's Mei Ying's face runs into the ring post. She gets in the ring. Indy Hartwell with a springboard lariat to the back, elbow to the back. I don't know what you want to call it, but it pins Mei Ying. So Mei Ying has lost her first match in very, very anticlimactic fashion. So, welp, I guess that's the end. Look, I'm not one of those people who say one loss kills your gimmick. But Mei Ying, it was so anticlimactic. And they tried to protect her by doing the ring post thing. It's like, okay, well, if they weren't done with Tian Sha, they could have picked anybody else. There's literal jobbers on the NXT roster. There's women who literally haven't been doing anything who could have done the job in this match. They chose Mei Ying for a reason because they don't care, right? They don't care about Tian Sha anymore. This was a vehicle for Xia Li, and now she's gone. Also, Mei Ying is very small. She's very small, and I didn't know how small she was. In any event, Indy Hartwell and Portia Parada celebrated their win, and after Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, and Zoe Stark were trying to get their thing together backstage as they try to deal with the toxic attraction problem in NXT. Indy Hartwell and Portia, I'm going to get that name right eventually, Portia Parada shows up and challenges Io and Zoe Stark for the tag team championships, which came out of nowhere. Completely out of nowhere. Like, if we were going to do that, they could have won a tag team match that on this show, and it would have made a lot more sense for you to be like, okay, we want to know as a tag team, and we're coming for you guys. But they're throwing title shots around pretty willy nilly on NXT. We'll talk about that at the end, though. So we have the new challengers set up for Io and Zoe after Toxic Attraction, maybe. Or maybe they lose to Toxic Attraction and Indy and Portia end up wrestling them. However that goes, we got Indy back in the title picture because Candice is gone. She's pregnant, so she needed a new partner anyway. And this is fine. Indy Hartwell has been doing a lot of outside the ring stuff. Inside the ring, she's still not very good. I mean, she's just stilted. I'm going to give her some more time because her character work has been pretty good. As far as being like this really horny chick, I'm okay with her character work. We got to work on her ring work. She got to get it up to snuff because her match wasn't good. The match with Maggie Ying was not good. All right, so let's rewind back to the beginning of the show. Beth Phoenix was asked about Seth Rollins invading her house. She said that Adam can handle their business, and that's good. I'm okay with that. Then we get a vignette from Santos Escobar and Legado del Fantasma. Santos Escobar said that the draft saved Hit Row's asses, but they seem like they're trying to run away from them, and said that unless Swerve is trying to run away, he would give him a shot at that North American title. Each one talked about how they were going to do bad things to members of Hit Row, and Legado del Fantasma remains cool all the time. There's nothing changed there. Later, we get a Hit Row promo where Swerve says that everybody's talking about Hit Row, and you know what nobody's talking about? Legado del Fantasma. Top Dollar said, we're not running from y'all, we're chasing the money. You need to act your wage, which I've heard 100 times in the hood. Swerve accepted the challenge, said that after I beat you, the only time you're going to see this title is on Friday nights. Fully expecting Santos Escobar to win the title. If we're going to do this and it's going to be so obvious, we should spice it up. I think it should be a ladder match or something like that. I say spice it up. Don't let it just be one singles match with, Legado del Fantasma interferes and he steals the belt and this is the last time you see Hit Row on TV. Let's go out on top. Let's do something big, Let's make it a gimmick. A stipulation. That's probably a better word to use. Let's do a stipulation match. I'm okay with Santos Escobar getting the belt. I'm not okay with him only getting the belt because Swerve is leaving. That sucks because it's anticlimactic. But I've already been through that in my draft videos. I'm not going to go through that again. All right, so Odyssey Jones takes the L to LA Knight because Andre Chase came down and distracted Odyssey Jones. Odyssey Jones is very, very aggressive, which is what I want. He smiles way too much in his entrance. He is way too just happy to be there. It is awful. Watching Odyssey Jones walk to the ring, it is awful. Also, what's awful, how they got everybody who's got dreadlocks, got their hair tied up, and it's sticking at the top of their head. Everybody, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, Odyssey Jones, they all got that goddamn peak. Like, did they sit down and say, hey, we're all going to have this peak in our hair? And I'm pretty sure Carmelo Hayes doesn't have dreadlocks. I think he has like braids. But in any event, he got the peak at the top of his head. They all do. I'm like, did y'all sit down and coordinate this? How did everybody come to the same peak in their head? How did they do that? In any event, Odyssey Jones looked good, but he took the L to LA Knight because of Andre Chase, which led Vic Joseph to say that Andre Chase has a bachelor's in BS. That's one of the good ones from Vic Joseph tonight. There's another good one in here somewhere. I put it in my notes, so I'll probably find it. Odyssey Jones isn't really hurt by losing this match because it continues his feud with Andre Chase, but I kind of want an LA Knight gone. I still do, but again, they do random call-ups throughout the year. maybe they'll still manage to call up LA Knight and Frankie Monet, but we'll get there. Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes says that there's love in the air. He's getting a little bit of jealous. So he says he's going to be searching for him a lucky little lady. This led Pete Dunne to show up, who says that no woman would touch you, and challenge him to a match, which seems to be Pete Dunne's thing, where he's a killjoy, I guess. Like, there is no reason for him to walk up to Cameron Grimes just randomly. Like, no woman would ever have sex with you. Who would want to have sex with you? I'm the baddest man in NXT. It's like, come on, man. Like, this, we ain't even about that right now. He trying to get the draws. You want to throw hands. Come on, man. Your priorities. What's up with your priorities, Pete? Get it together. And Ridge Holland stood there like literally a statue. He said nothing. Did nothing. It's like, okay, he heard he was getting called up. His character just and disappeared. It wasn't like he said much anything anyway. But he just became a body. He didn't say anything. Later, they had the best match on the show. Pete Dunne versus Cameron Grimes. Pete Dunne wins with the bitter end. During the match, Ridge Holland was about to blast Cameron Grimes with his stick. This led Kyle O'Reilly to come out there and stop him. This led Ridge Holland to launch Kyle O'Reilly into orbit. And what was quite awesome. Anyway, all the confusion, Cameron Grimes ended up getting beat. After the match, Kyle O'Reilly tried his luck again on the two Brits. He got stomped because he's 160 pounds. And not at all a giant, even though they seem to want to book him like he is. So they stomped him out, and then here comes Von Wagner. Von Wagner comes out there to help him after the fact. After the fact. He helped him after the fact. This leads us to the Von Wagner Kyle O'Reilly scenario. Because earlier in the night, Kyle O'Reilly said, look, I don't know what your problem is with this whole Pete Dunne, Ridge Holland thing, but I really don't trust anybody anymore. You know, I went through this whole thing. Let me handle this. Let me do it myself. So then he tried handling it himself with attacking during this match, and he only gets stomped. Von Wagner came out there to help him to the back. Then Von Wagner just goes and gets the tag team match made without Kyle O'Reilly. You know, says, hey, whether you like it or not, man, we're tag team partners. And I don't know why Von Wagner's face looks like it looks prosthetic. Like, he has such hard features. He looks like a mountain in the face. Like, I'm talking like he has that ogre like forehead, and the I think he might have acromegaly, because if you look at his face, he has like almost like Great Khali like features. It's really strange. It's really strange, man. It's just he looks like a monster, right? He looks like a human monster. But he needs a character, man. His character right now is guy who wants to be friends with Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle O'Reilly doesn't really want to be friends. Why would you want to be friends with Kyle O'Reilly? I mean, he's not exactly the friendliest guy in the world. But never mind. I think the match is going to be fine, though. Probably going to be a farewell party for Ridge Holland. All right, so Tommaso Ciampa says October 26th, Halloween Havoc returns, and he needs an opponent, and says that he heard that there's somebody out there who wants to be the flag bearer, and that actions speak louder than words. So who has the balls to show up and fight him? This lead, of course, our boy Braun Breaker in a suit shows up smiling, which is it's a no-no for me. Said that he has treated Tommaso Ciampa with nothing but respect, but he came here to be the NXT champion. And he got the biggest balls in the locker room and accepts Tommaso Ciampa's challenge. Tommaso Ciampa told him, you want this title. I need this title. To you, this title is a stepping stone to bigger and better things. To me, this is bigger and better. And it says, I accept your challenge. You got 3 weeks to go from intern to PhD. I like this. I like this, but I don't like this. I like it, but I don't like it. You know, What I don't like about it is we have time to do like a tournament or something like that. Make Braun Breaker go through the gauntlet. Let him beat other people and be on a winning streak when we get there. Instead of just saying, okay, he won one major match, which was the match with LA Knight, and he won a tag match, I think, the next week. So all of a sudden, he's the number one contender. That's, to me, doesn't feel earned. It feels rushed. I know I'm Mr. Treat stars like stars. I am that guy. But at the same time, for storyline purposes, you want people to feel like they've earned things. There is a big problem in this NXT thing now where they're just trying to rush people into spots and they don't feel like they've earned it. And it's going to be very difficult in the long term because making people earn things is how they get over, right? If you're like, well, everybody likes Braun Breaker, right? Let's just give him the title shot. It's like, well, you had somebody else here, even though it was a weird decision that they made. Which brings us to our boy Joe Gacy. So Joe Gacy is sitting in the dark like an absolute creep. Says that he is the voice of a righteous and inclusive generation. And that NXT 2.0 is still our safe space and is the one platform that will never crash. And says that tonight he's going to prove there can be two winners. And he goes on to wrestle Ikemen Jiro. And this match wasn't bad. Ikemen Jiro is absolutely ridiculous. Everything about him is absolutely funny to me. I don't know why. He's just, his mere existence. Now that I know he exists, he makes me laugh. He puts smiles on faces. He is silly as hell, man. I don't know why. But the clotheslines with the jacket, man, I'm like, what is going on with this guy? There's great psychology in Joe Gacy's character, where he's very nice, but he's also being quite underhanded. There's certain levels of sinister to the character. So I do like the nuances of the Joe Gacy character. He wins with a springboard lariat, which you already know I don't like it because it's an unnecessary flip. So after Gacy wins, he helps up Ikemen Jiro and hugs him, pats him on the back. Jiro actually sells that he just got hugged by Joe Gacy. He just he's like, why you hugging me? In any event, Joe Gacy is smiling, and there's some people who like Joe Gacy. There's a lot of people who don't. And then there was this figure in the crowd staring at Joe Gacy very angrily, and was just he looked like a putty from like Power Rangers. He was completely bald, nondescript whatsoever. I was like, who that guy? And so I went on the Twitter machine to see who it was, and it's Parker Boudreaux. His character Harland is going to be teamed up with Joe Gacy. He looks like a very stern-faced. He's probably going to end up being his Festus, maybe one of his followers or something like that. And I like that idea. I do. I like it. Everybody's got to start somewhere, man. Parker Boudreaux is one of those guys where everybody, has such high hopes for him. Let him start small. Joe Gacy has some experience. Okay. Let's hold off on Parker Boudreaux for a while. Let's get other people in there, get him mixed in. He's very young. So we don't have to rush it. Again, we don't have to rush things. So later in the show, Tommaso Ciampa is talked to again. And he talks about Braun Breaker being a blue chipper and himself being a veteran. And this is going to be a good fight. And then Joe Gacy interrupts. And he tells Tommaso Ciampa that he's emitting some toxic energy by saying that he wants people with big balls to wrestle him in this match. He says, it seems to me like you're struggling with your privilege. It says that he wants to have a match for the NXT Championship. Tommaso Ciampa said, okay, well, look, if you beat me next week, we can add you to the Halloween Havoc match, and we can make it a triple threat match. And Joe Gacy makes me laugh. he basically said it. He said it without saying it. I'm looking at what they're doing with Joe Gacy as far as they're avoiding certain real hard triggers. This was a perfect time to talk about toxic masculinity. And that's what he should have said, toxic masculinity. But instead of saying that, they said, you're emitting some toxic energy. He was talking about balls. So toxic masculinity, right? And you're struggling with your privilege. Clearly, Joe Gacy's not going to win this match, right? They're not going to put Braun Breaker in this match with Joe Gacy in it. But to me, it would have made sense if you would have did Braun Breaker versus Joe Gacy, right? And had it be an eliminator where Joe Gacy has won as many matches as Braun Breaker. I think they both won 2. No, because Joe Gacy lost his first match. So Joe Gacy is 1-1, or is he 2-1? Or was that his first win against Ike Manjiro? I don't know. I'm not a cage match guy. Cage match, check his record. I'm not that kind of guy. In any event, I think they have a similar winning record. I know Braun Breaker hasn't been beaten yet, and I know for sure that Joe Gacy has lost. So let's say, for the purposes of story, rather than stupid sports numbers and that crap, that Joe Gacy wants to get a title shot. Then you just say, okay, well, we're going to have a match, Joe Gacy versus Braun Breaker, and the winner will wrestle Tommaso Ciampa. That would have made more sense to me than Joe Gacy has to beat Tommaso Ciampa, right? That would have made more sense to me. But I'm still cool with this. I'm glad that other people aren't just laying around and saying, oh, well, let Braun Breaker do whatever he wants. He wants to be the number one contender. Let him be the number one contender. I don't want to be the number one contender. It's like, no. Everybody should want to be the champion. We should have forced it, a tournament or a battle royal or something. Again, make people earn it. We'll talk about that stuff later. We get a Cora Jade vignette where she's riding around with a skateboard. I have no earthly idea what this is supposed to be outside of MTV Look at Me. Then Cora Jade comes out for her match. She's going to have a match probably against a job girl. And then she gets assaulted by Frankie Monet, a job girl. Then Robert Stone decides that Frankie Monet is going to take the place of Cora Jade's scheduled opponent. Frankie Monet beats the hell out of Cora Jade, just completely destroying her. And then Cora Jade wins with a victory roll-up, which completely embarrasses Frankie Monet yet again. Yet again, she takes an L. All right. They do this. NXT does this with, having people do a bunch of jobs before they get pushed. And it seems like she might be there for a while. Or she's on her way out. One or the other. It's hard to tell at this point. But having her lose to Cora Jade was real strange. That was a real strange one. Especially since she jumped her before the match. That's a difficult one to get past the goalie. But I'm sure, Taya, she's up there, but her job is pretty much going to be to help others. She's not in the age range where they're going to try to push her to be the star of the show. But we can still do better than this, right? And in any event, Cora Jade wins. She didn't really get to show much of anything because she spent most of the match selling. Duke Hudson. Duke Hudson is now a professional poker player who is apparently sexy to Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett thinks that professional poker player Duke Hudson is a sexy man. And Duke Hudson's character is that he sits at the table and he plays cards and he likes to play mind games. So that's his gimmick, is he wants to play mind games. He wants to make you break. He wants to make you blink. He wants to bluff you. All right. We'll see how that goes for you. Good luck with that, Duke Hudson. All right, so then we got the main event stuff. We got MSK, who apparently just, they suck so bad. And I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm glad I'm not the only one. The crowd hates MSK. So MSK, got called out by Grizzly Young veterans, called them cowards, who says that they wanted an elimination match because they're trying to dodge them. This led all the teams to fighting in the back after MSK wanted to make it a fatal four-way elimination, which technically means it's elimination, not fatal four-way. Fatal four-way is one pin, one submission. But hey, what do I know about the rules of this stuff? Later on, Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, they cut their promo where Hayes says he got himself a title shot for the tag team titles without even using his contract. He truly don't miss. This led Trick Williams to say Melo don't miss and Trick don't butt kiss. He then did some type of spoken word rap thing and kept yelling how they bout it. And I don't get this Trick Williams thing, man. I think he's a little over my head. I like his charisma. I like that he at least delivers his lines like he believes it. But I'm just floored by the fact that we're using bout it in 2021. I mean, it's such a 1999 thing. It's just so old school. Oh, we bout it. Okay. So the main event, Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen versus Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams versus MSK versus the Grizzled Young Veterans for the NXT Tag Team Championship. This was an elimination match. Trick Williams has very skinny legs. Very skinny legs. I don't know. His legs are like popsicle sticks, and especially since they're in those tight pants. But he was very aggressive, and I liked some of his offense. He seems, especially his punches, like his stomach punch looks pretty good. The uppercut looked pretty good too. He got a little high on I think it was the clothesline he did. He did like a leaping clothesline. He got a little high on that, and I think the other guy probably sold it before it made contact, which is a big problem in wrestling today. People sell clotheslines and stuff like that before it even touch them. I hate it. Like, if it's Randy Orton, it makes sense because you don't want to dislocate one of Randy's shoulders. But everybody else, man, let them make contact first. Shit. Don't just fall down because you know the clothesline is coming. I hate that. That's that's one of the things that happens so much in wrestling. I cannot stand it. It's one of my pet peeves, man, is when people sell clotheslines before they even touch. I hate it so much. Trick Williams gets pinned by MSK, and the fans boo it and spend the rest of the match chanting, "We want Melo," as they should. Taking Melo out so early was dumb. He shouldn't even been in it if they weren't going to win. And yes, I know Carmelo didn't lose. Trick Williams lost, but Trick shouldn't have lost either. He's new. This is his first match. So why did he lose his first match? That's why you have to make people earn things. That way, when they lose, they at least still have some type of momentum. In this situation, Trick Williams is the muscle for Carmelo Hayes, and he got beat. So now we're in a situation where your muscle is whack. And then they the first ones out. So that doubles down on this shit being whack. The Grizzly Young Veterans got beat by Briggs and Jensen. I don't understand why we was pushing Briggs and Jensen in this situation. The Grizzly Young Veterans clearly is a superior team. And Briggs and Jensen lose to MSK, who people booed again because they hate MSK for all the right reasons, such as MSK sucks, such as MSK blows, such as MSK both sucks and blows at the same time, such as MSK is empty, vapid, boring as shit, garbage ass, flippity doo, indie style trash. That's why they got booed. And that's why they've been getting booed. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. It's not open heart surgery. The guys have no character and they always win. They've been winning all year. They haven't cut a single good promo. The matches are not bad, but who cares? They don't have characters. Their characters are, we're the tag team champions. And nobody knows who any of these guys are. I still get them mixed up. I still call them by their names from Impact. Their names suck too, by the way. Everything about MSK is just bad. It's just all bad. What's not bad is MSK getting jumped from behind by Imperium after the match, which the crowd cheered and said and chanted thank you to Imperium. for beating up MSK because they suck so bad. This led Briggs and Jensen to come back and chase off Imperium. And you know what? I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. I didn't like the idea of MSK beating essentially the whole tag team division in one match. That seemed a bit, again, seems silly because you could have built feuds with each one of these teams and actually forced MSK to build characters and tell stories. And we could have fleshed out all of these guys, especially some of the newer ones like Trick Williams and Briggs and Jensen and those guys. We could have fleshed them out by dragging this out over time, letting them do vignettes, letting them do promos, doing different stuff like that to build up with a match with MSK. But hey, why do that when we could just throw guys who have into the match? Why not? Why not just throw guys into the match? Why not? Makes no sense. Got to make people earn things, dog. All right, so we got introduced to Diamond Mine. So we get introduced to Hachiman, who is the coach. I know that he is very well known by Josh Barnett, who has been talking a lot about Hachiman. But Hachiman apparently is not going to wrestle. He's just the coach. Ivy Nile, who sounds like she's 12 years old, is an MMA enthusiast from the Titan Games. The Creeds are national champions, amateur wrestlers, and Roderick Strong is the centerpiece, cruiserweight champion, one of the best in the business. Okay, I like it. I like Diamond Mine much more now than I did before. I'm guessing they're gonna wait to do cool things with Hachiman. That his existence means he's actually going to wrestle, but it's probably going to be on a as needed basis, and he's not going to be there full time. But also it makes sense that if Malcolm Bevins is the manager, there needs to be he can't be the coach. What the fuck do he know about wrestling? He's good with words though, like he said that Hachiman has won more titles than Tom Brady, and he'll beat Tom Brady's ass. I thought that was nice. That was nice. So I like Diamond Mine now. I don't know what they're gonna do about Ivy Nile. She sounds like she has teddy bears in her room, and that's not a good thing when she looks the way she looks. I mean, she just sounds like her room is like flowers and pink, and it's not good. Her voice does not match her voice and her demeanor. It comes across like she's really trying to force the issue when it comes to this being muscly thing. I don't know. Maybe they could turn it down some. But I like Diamond Mine a lot more now than I did before. And let's finish with probably the best thing on NXT 2.0. Hey, our boy Tony D'Angelo. This was great. This was tremendous. What made this so good is how people love this guy. He's working heel, by the way. If you watched this match, he was the heel in this match, but it didn't matter. You were supposed to not like him, but he got a huge reaction, and people were chanting for him all night. That made this so fun. Because as soon as he come out, he's like, hey! And they're like, yeah! Got my goo! And they say people hate stereotypes. No, they love them. They love stereotypes. So this match was way too long, though. This is a job match against some dude named Malik Blade, who got way too much offense in. But people got to chant for Tony D'Angelo, and it was fun. It was fun. Tony wins with a Northern Lights into a Pittsburgh plunge, which is a very busy finish. He's a new finish. He was still, despite the "Let's Go Tony" chants, he was actually the heel in this match. Kept telling them, forget about it. Look at this guy. Beth is on commentary talking about Tony's family owning the laundromat and the fish market. Nobody but mobsters own fish markets. So I believe it. I believe he owns the fish market. So Tony is a grappler, which fits the character because we know that the character is an amateur wrestler because that's what he told us. So he has a lot of grappling holds. He's utilized some amateur wrestling, and it was fine. The match was fine. the crowd reaction was at least consistent throughout the match, which made it very interesting to me. It made it fun. So I like Tony D'Angelo. It was successful. He rocked that joint, and he didn't really do much of anything. So that's how you know when you over. You don't do much of anything, and that's the benefit of doing cool vignettes. They did a couple of weeks of cool vignettes, and this is the reaction that the guy got. As opposed to, hey, let's go throw him in there in a world title match. Well, not even a world title match, but a title match. Just because, well, this is what we need to do. It's like, well, no. We have to introduce these characters, man. We have to make people earn things. People have to get over in NXT. And to do that, you have to build credibility. And building credibility is very, very important. I know wrestling is not real. It's quote unquote fiction. But we're supposed to believe that it's real. And even in fixed sports, they don't just put people with 0-0 records into championship matches just cause. It doesn't make any sense. And Wade Barrett was crowing about this the entire time during the tag team match. That, as a matter of fact, Brooke Jensen and Josh Briggs, not only did they have, I think they had, one win and one loss? I know they lost their first match. I don't know if they won a match after that. I don't remember. But they certainly weren't credible contenders. Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes had 0 tag team matches. They weren't credible contenders. I don't see the point of that. Throwing Brian Breaker into the title match, at least he got wins. But he only got 2. Like, he got wins. Sure, he got 2 wins. Like, let's actually take our time here and build up some credibility so that when people actually achieve something, we can feel like something's actually been done and not that it happened because we booked it that way. That's what the problem with, Santos Escobar and Swerve. Santos Escobar didn't have a lot of matches anyway, but he hasn't been wrestling to get like momentum and then challenge Swerve to a match. Swerve wasn't defending the title anyway. He won the title in like June, and it's October, and he's just now defending the belt. So you have to, I don't know. At least that feud has been going on. They just hadn't got around to the match yet. But we need to, that's the one thing I want NXT to do better. Introduce some characters better, especially characters like Von Wagner. When he was introduced, he was just thrown into a match. Sight unseen, name unknown, just thrown into a title match. And everybody's just kind of like, all right, we're a month into this thing now. We still don't know who Von Wagner is. We just know he's a guy who likes tractor tires. And his face looks like the side of Mount Rushmore. Other than that, what do we know about Von Wagner? We don't know anything. Compare that to Tony D'Angelo. Oh, speaking of which, Tony D'Angelo wants to be on Lashing Out. Lashing Out is not good, and Lash Legend is not good. She sounds like she's reading things, and she probably is. And she probably over-rehearsed that promo, but it wasn't good. We don't need like ghetto Wendy Williams characters on this show. I make an executive decision. We don't need that. We veto that. Hopefully she can do something else. But we have to build up people's credibility so that when title matches and things like that come around, it makes a lot more sense for them to be in that position. And then people can choose and say, okay, well, this guy's got some momentum. Of course he should get a title shot. Why shouldn't he? If you need an opponent for Tommaso Ciampa, again, you could have had that tournament. You got 3 weeks. You could finish a 8-man tournament in 3 weeks. You can finish a 16-man tournament in 3 weeks. If you have more than one match a week, you can do that. And I would have done that. I would have had Brian Breaker go through a short tournament to crown himself the number 1 contender. Probably got 4 or 5 guys, probably more than that you could throw in there. There's a lot of people from the old roster that you could have put in there, like Kyle O'Reilly. There's some new guys you could have put in there. There's some guys who are leaving anyway that you could have put in there, like Ashanti Theodonis or Top Dollar or something like that. You could have gotten them disqualified, or you also got people from Legado del Fantasma you could have put in there. There's a lot of things you could have done to weave what's going on in the main stories or in these side stories into the title picture, and had an eclectic group of contenders, and then just had Braun Breaker beat all of them. Then he looks like an unstoppable monster. And now Tommaso Ciampa staring down not just a guy who's a rookie, who's ahead of him, getting a little bit ahead of himself, but somebody who is apparently like a savant, who is like really good at this stuff and got really good really fast. Then that could be a bigger, more marketable match. To that point, I think that you have to go to Dragon Ball route with this match, and it's probably going to piss a lot of people off because they could be like, "No, it doesn't make any sense." I think Tommaso Ciampa needs to win this match. He needs to beat Braun Breaker. He needs to be the first one to beat him, and the reason why he needs to beat him is, for what I've been crowing about this entire episode, you need to make it feel like Braun Breaker earned it. So let him get there in his third or fourth match, however many matches he's going to be had by that point, and he loses. But he doesn't lose like fairy tale ending, get pinned straight up clean in the middle of the ring. I mean, you turn Tommaso Ciampa heel in the middle of that match by pulling the tights, raking the eyes, hitting him in the throat with something, anything. Because we've already set the stage. Tommaso Ciampa needs this title. Braun Breaker just wants it. And now they're going the whole thing with respect. Okay, that's a good foundation. I think in the middle of the match, make it seem like Braun Breaker is going to win. And then all of a sudden, Tommaso Ciampa starts fish hooking. He starts eye gouging. He hits him in the throat with something. Maybe with his little dog tags or something like that. He jabs him in the eye, rolls up, pulls the tights, steals the title, and goes off. Then we restart the feud with Tommaso Ciampa as the heel, and the chase really begins. I think that's the better way to do it. I think that would be, if you're really trying to build Braun Breaker, that's a better way to do it. Is to have him as a cheated babyface who went into the match with the utmost respect, expected a fair match, but Tommaso Ciampa is obsessed with the title. He's going to heel out, and he did whatever he needed to do to keep it. And now he's going to avoid wrestling him. That's the best way to do it. I think they should do it. I wouldn't even give him the title until TakeOver, whenever the next TakeOver is. They haven't even talked about a TakeOver. So I don't know if they've eliminated the concept or whatever. But I would wait until whatever the next TakeOver is, which is probably going to be, maybe in January. And I would give him the title then. But I wouldn't give it to him in 3 weeks. That means he's only been on the roster a month and a half or something like that. It seems, look, I know it's WWE. They're probably going to give him the belt. They're probably going to change all the belts, if we're being honest. They're going to use Halloween Havoc as a way to change all the belts. Because I do expect Mandy Rose to win the title too. But in this instance, at least, Raquel Gonzalez has been champion since January. So she can drop the title and not be harmed. And they've been doing the thing that I've been talking about. They've been putting Mandy Rose in matches, and Mandy Rose has been winning. She's been cutting promos. She's been getting momentum. Right thing to do. I fully expect both of those titles to change, but the NXT men's title shouldn't change, not until Braun Breaker actually earns the title. The tag team titles. Look, I don't care, man. I hope somebody shoplift those titles from MSK. I don't care who beats them at this point. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Matter of fact, I do. I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I don't care who wins. Because I know it's not going to be any team that I really hate. It's not going to be the Young Bucks or anything like that. So what could possibly go wrong? The only thing that could be worse than having MSK as the tag team champions is having Breezango as the tag team champions. We can't go back to that. We can't go back to those days. So I expect Halloween Havoc to be a turning point as far as the new NXT is concerned. After that will be after the draft. So that means that the people, Hit Row will be gone. Rich Holland will be gone. Some other people might be gone, which means that they'll probably be bringing in some new people. So that ought to be an interesting time too. Is the first NXT following Halloween Havoc ought to be pretty interesting. You ought to see some more new faces. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.